Welcome to a special edition of The Deep End on Tim Hatch Live. We are going to have an incredible conversation with Jacob Wells, the co-founder of GiveSendGo, who is in the thick of a political argument online that you might be interested in hearing what he has to say. Welcome to The Deep End on Tim Hatch Live. All right, everybody, welcome to the studio here in Massachusetts today. Usually I'm in Florida, but I'm in Massachusetts. And Jacob Wells, welcome in.
It's great to be here, Tim. I appreciate you having me on.
An old friend.
Right.
Yeah, a partner in ministry.
Yes.
So I'm excited to have you. And I remember years ago, you telling me about this startup company, this crazy idea to do a Christian crowdfunding website. And I thought, that'll never work. People have got, GoFundMe or whatever other ones.
Yeah.
And who would have thought that it would have exploded to this extent?
Oh my gosh.
4 years ago, you are a darling of the political right.
Yeah.
You're refusing to back down to the pressures of the liberals in Canada with the trucker convoy.
Right.
The Kyle Rittenhouse Defense Fund. Remind me.
Daniel Penny
Defense.
Another big one.
So everybody on the right loves you.
Right.
I saw the tweets, or now we got to say posts because it's X.
Yes.
Yeah. And now you're on the other side.
Yeah.
Now you're a pariah of the right.
It seems that way.
The left.
Yeah. I was like, what happened overnight?
Yeah.
It's crazy to see. And partially because I myself am conservative, would lean to the right in my political ideology. You kind of feel like you're safe in that the people that you operate with are principled like you, that we stand for these ideals and that even when they're pressured, they're going to stand.
Yeah.
And so that was the assumption. But it has been fascinating to see so many people on the right come out in absolute vitriol towards us, even as much as death threats that we've received.
Yeah.
And attempts at doxing us and coming after the family, threats to the family. My wife, her business page has been hit with spam and just, it's really incredible.
Let's set the table for why you're getting this.
Sure.
In case anybody's been living under a rock or you haven't been on social media in the last 5 seconds. There's a teen is it in Texas?
I think it's Fresco, Texas.
Texas. So a black teen.
Right.
Takes a knife to a track meet. He, I guess, was in the tent of the opposing team's fans and didn't go there to agitate. I guess the white teen asked him to leave, some kind of altercation happened. Nobody really knows all the facts. I'm being very delicate here.
Right.
Long story short, black teen stabs the white teen, kills him.
Right.
Sad story because this
Tragic.
teen dies in his brother's arms, his twin brother's arms.
Yeah.
I guess the black teen's name is Karmelo Anthony.
Yes.
White teen,
Austin
Metcalf.
Yeah.
So you, through your crowdfunding website, you're allowing people to raise money for Karmelo Anthony's defense.
Right.
Yeah, defense, because he's the one accused of murder.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we are a platform. We don't go out advocating for these campaigns. You're not defending him. Yeah, and we're not even fundraising for him. I just make those distinctions because there are people that say you're raising money for him. Like, no, we're not. He's raising money. His family, whoever set up this campaign, is the fundraiser. Yeah. And they're raising money from their own community. It's not us raising money for them. We don't raise money. We're a platform, almost like a utility in some. That's how we try to view ourselves on some level, a social utility. That campaign came to our platform after our competitor shut it down. Yeah. So they canceled it.
GoFundMe shut it down.
Yeah, GoFundMe shut it down.
So this is the second kind of, if I hate to put it in these baskets, but you got, right-wing campaigns, Kyle Rittenhouse and Daniel Penny, and then you got left-wing campaigns. This is the second one that you've gotten some heat from on the left. Yeah. For a left-wing kind of campaign.
Right, yes.
The first one was...
It's still ongoing, Luigi Mangione.
That's right, Luigi Mangione, the guy who shot the healthcare executive.
The healthcare CEO, I know. Another just crazy scenario. And then there's tragedy all around these situations. Yeah. Our thought process has been in a recognition of the society and the way that the world operates and the brokenness of the world, that the role of a Christian is not to restrict freedom per se, but just like God did in Jesus, enter into the tragedy of the situation and try to redeem it. And so our mission statement at GiveSendGo, and this has been it from the beginning, is to share the hope of Jesus through crowdfunding, through the work that he's given us to do. And so in the midst of this tragedy, our desire is to share hope, is to be principled, which is sharing hope, because our principles are based upon moral oughts, and those moral oughts are derived from a lawgiver, a moral being, God himself. And this is how we get to where we are.
You know, so you've got this campaign and people are coming after you. Let's talk about the toll, the cost on your family, because let's get that out first.
Yeah.
The reason why is because you're a human being. Yeah. And I think social media and our screens, these little, you know, devices that we filter almost everything through today, it becomes a digital wall that separates us so that we lob heavy stones at each other.
Right.
With
very little consequence.
Whereas if we sat down, if we got to know each other, we wouldn't be doing this nearly as much.
Right.
Talk about the toll. You hinted at it a little bit earlier, but what's going on?
Just the other night, have it on my phone, a voicemail, anonymous, of course. What sounded, it was really funny to me on some level because she sounded very old. And she was railing against us for the stance that we've taken in allowing this campaign, but that now that she had my phone number, and I don't know how she got it, but that she was going on to TikTok to disclose it to everybody so that people could harass me and my family. And she was the one calling me the non-Christian. We fielded several thousand hate emails from our customer service team directed at...
This is hate from the political right.
Completely from the political right.
Which people on the right don't think exists.
No, it was such... It really was surprising to me. Like I said it a little bit earlier, it's like, you think you're amongst your own on some level, or that your side has more principle than the others, or whatever. And then you find out real quickly when the table is turned that, wow, there are a lot of people that espoused freedom of speech and the right to a legal defense fund and all of that when it suited their purpose. Yeah. And when the tables turned, all of a sudden it completely disappeared. It was this hubris. It was this complete pride and arrogance that, well, because it's on our side, we now can be the judge, jury, and rule by mob, which you accused the other side of doing just a year ago. It's crazy.
The rule of law is not emotional.
No.
It's facts, data, judgment.
Yep.
And people disconnect from that all the time. For the people on the ground, it's people on social media, it's emotions and my tribe, your tribe. My tribe is right, your tribe is wrong. So therefore, anything your tribe does is automatically evil. Everything my tribe does is automatically righteous. And it's an emotional thing.
Right.
And this, at the end of the day, is a young man's future hangs in the balance as to whether or not he murdered this guy in cold blood. And what is the jury going to rule on that? And I think, you know, regardless of where you stand, you have to say, I want justice to prevail.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what both sides are clamoring for, is they want to see justice. And so we are fully in line with, let's see justice. But what is the best way to see justice played out? There's reasons why we have the principles, the cornerstones to our legal system, like the presumption of innocence, as a cornerstone to our legal system, because it's rooted in truths that, like you said, aren't emotional. They are imbued into the fabric of how this world operates. It's like the truths that are the substrate, and it's the Romans 1, the self-evident things that exist in the world. They scream out. There are some fundamental elements that are at play here that build good societies. This is why we've operated under this presumption of innocence rather than presumption of guilt. Presumption of innocence is rooted in building social cohesion, because if you have presumption of guilt as a framework for your legal system, overwhelmingly embedded with distrust, because if you're presumed guilty, everyone's just living in fear. So when you have a presumption of innocence, people can live freely and without fear. And so it builds social cohesion in society.
That's right.
So that's one element of why we have presumption of innocence. We also have presumption of innocence because it's very hard to prove a negative. It's very difficult to prove innocence of something that I haven't done.
Yeah.
So just from a logical standpoint, it's much easier for an accuser to prove guilt than it is for an innocent person to disprove the claim that's coming against them if they never did it.
Right.
And then there's the imbalance of power that presumption of innocence protects against. Prosecutors in the state have way more resources to prosecute than the individual.
Yes.
This is a protection against the state that we have presumption of innocence. And then there's the recognition, and I love this because it's rooted right in the core of the Bible, is that there is an imbalance between a wrong person being let go and an innocent person being wrongly convicted, that those aren't equal. And you see this in Genesis 18 when God and Abraham are debating, arguing about Sodom and Gomorrah. And they're having this conversation, fascinating conversation, and Abraham's like whittling God down on how many people and all of this stuff. But if you look at that conversation, what you begin to derive is that it is better for guilty people to go free than it is for an innocent person to be punished.
Yeah.
And these principles, they are all throughout Scripture. I even was reading the Levitical laws about the refugee cities.
Yep, refugee cities. Yeah, cities of refuge.
Yes, cities of refuge, where if you killed somebody, you had a place to go. Basically, a place to protect preserve your innocence on some level until it was tried, until it was looked at, and a legal case could. This is exactly what we're doing in society. This is why it's become a framework. It was built into even the Babylonians understood this. They wrote it into Hammurabi's code. This idea of presumption of innocence, and that it's the accuser that needs to the burden of
proof is on them.
The burden of proof is on them.
Yeah.
And then you see it. Fast forward, you see it in the New Testament. You see it with Timothy and Paul. Paul saying, "Hey, listen, it's got to be multiple accusers." To Timothy in chapter 5. Right. And then the next verse, I didn't realize this, and I was reading a little bit further. And he's like, "And be impartial. Don't let partiality come into play." Yeah. I was like, all of this is scripturally grounded, and it lays a framework for a life-giving society. This is why we hold to the principle of presumption of innocence. All of these reasons, and actually some more, which I don't need to get into, but that framework right there that I just laid out is so valuable for preserving. And I think one of the reasons why we see the turmoil that we see in society now is we've undermined the principles that have existed in our society. And the value of principles in society is that they unify because they don't discriminate. Right. Like it applies to you, it applies to all of us. Principles are across the board. It doesn't matter what race you are. But when you start making exceptions for principles and breaking it down, all of a sudden, you're going to see racism on the rise again. You're going to see all of the things, the evils of us versus you, tribalism, all begin to come back into society. So try to take a step back from the situation and say, oh man, this is tragic. This is horrible what's happened. A young boy has lost his life. Another young boy put himself and did, from what I understand, on what looks like a very bad move and did something horrible. And he's going to be affected for the rest of his life by it, regardless of any outcomes.
And their families are
And their families are, exactly. This is not a good situation. But when you operate on principle, then you actually create an avenue for healing to take place. And people are screaming, break the principle, be the determiner, make the exception. Yeah. And we say if we do that, we continue to push racial division in our country, all of the things that are tearing at the fabric of what our country was built upon. Yeah. These moral principles sit on top of, like I said earlier, moral foundations, which are derived from a moral lawgiver. And I think it was John Adams that said, constitution, our republic is only fit for a moral and religious people.
Yeah. The problem that this particular case has is it's white, black.
Right.
If both of them were white, we wouldn't be here. If both of them were black, we wouldn't be here.
Right.
But we continue as a country to have this issue. And I think if I'm playing devil's advocate for the people who are angry with you,
sure,
it's, well, 5+ years of the post-George Floyd era, where they didn't prove that the police officers, Derek Chauvin's knee killed the guy. The fentanyl was in his system. He resisted arrest for 30 minutes. They didn't release that tape until weeks after the protests had been erupting. The guy that was on the jury was part of the Black Lives Matter movement and was going into the jury with the ambition to convict.
Right.
And so to play devil's advocate, because I want to present you with what I'm sure people are, that's the basis on which they are launching these attacks against you.
Yeah, right.
They're saying, this is classic, like, bend the knee to we have to undo white supremacy history with now favoring and making sure that we for lack of a better term, whitewash black crime in the name of justice, or as if to say we can undo the evil of the past by allowing black people to do evil and not punishing them as much in the present, or punishing white people more viciously than black people, because we have to level the playing field. And I think that's where that's where the anger is coming from because of the last 5 years of our history. What do you say? What do you say to those?
I get the frustration. And what we've seen is narratives run wild on all sides, particularly in those cases. I made the correlation online to allowing this campaign to we allowed Kyle Rittenhouse and we allowed Daniel Penny and everyone's
who also brought a weapon to a protest that was already heated.
Yes.
He goes to a track meet. Track meets technically aren't heated.
Yes, right.
by nature, but a protest is.
Yes.
And Kyle Rittenhouse took an AR-15.
Yes.
The demonic gun, if you will.
Yeah.
And then he shot the 3 people.
Yeah.
So.
And people on the right are like, well, they're not equal. You can see in the video, Kyle was running away, and you can see Daniel Penny, he was stepping in to protect people. Like, this is completely different. And while on the circumstances they are different, they're very much the same in what's being presented. They're all being charged with murder.
Yeah.
They're all being charged. So I posted a question to social media and said, okay, help me navigate this, right? People on the right, because we're supposed to be a platform. We're supposed to have terms of service. Our terms of service allow for someone that's being accused of a violent crime to have a legal defense fund. And you cheered that on. But now you're telling me that we should be picking and choosing which ones we allow because of our decision-making process. And they're like, yeah, that's exactly what we want you to do. And I say, when you start doing that, you become the very thing that you hate about the people that you claimed to be doing it to you. And I said, when GoFundMe shut down every campaign that was questioning election integrity, well, they were doing it to preserve elections. Like, they had a moral justification for doing it.
Yeah.
When, in their mind, they did. When they shut down every campaign that questioned the COVID shot narrative, which they did, they were justified in their mind, saying, well, we're trying to save people's lives. We don't want to undermine the people from getting this shot. Like, everything that they did there was a moral justification for why they did what they did, yet it was so dangerous to our society.
Yeah.
Like, the moment that you put this burden on me, on GiveSendGo, to start navigating, being the judge and jury, it will go wrong.
Right.
Because I'm a human being.
Yeah.
And human beings, we go wrong all the time. We're not God. We're fallible. We make bad decisions. We don't have all the information. All of these different things. This is why, Solomon says this in Proverbs 18:17. He says, when you first hear a legal case, the first to present it, it sounds good.
Sounds good.
And then
you hear the other person.
It's like,
wait a minute. Okay,
right.
Let me bring up something else, because this is some of the controversy online that you're getting, some of the pushback in your campaigns that you allow, that you may disagree with. On your page, it says, number one, and this is the one that people are calling you out on, we do not host campaigns that promote violence, fund illegal activity, or break our terms. I see this all the time on the replies in your X is, look at this. Look at that line. So this is promoting violence. It's not promoting violence.
It's not promoting violence. What you just read, our terms of service, is explicit. You can't create a campaign that's advocating for violent actions or illegal actions. That is not what this campaign is doing at all. A legal defense fund is an opportunity to afford yourself the best legal defense possible, which should be something that everybody is cheering for.
Yes.
You saw it, I saw it. Narratives run wild online. They ran wild around Kyle Rittenhouse. We heard things in the mainstream media that was completely
untrue,
false. We heard the same thing with Daniel Penny, the trucker convoy. Like, I could go through the COVID, like all of these situations, we heard massive untruths because of the reality that everyone has a phone in their pocket. They're being inundated with things. They don't have time or aren't putting in the time to fact check all of these things. They are being taught half-truths, only hearing half-truths. It is more important now than ever for people to get the best defense possible. And that comes at a high cost.
Yeah, it does.
It's not just a run-of-the-mill. I say this because this is a whole nother bent on this. It's like, why should wealthy people have access, because they have money, have access to the best private defense by hiring a private attorney for their access to the justice system, while economically depressed people don't have access? Like, that's what our platform is doing. It's like creating equilibrium, which actually benefits everybody. It actually forces the justice system back to equilibrium. What's happened is, the further that we get in disparity, the more that we see justice out of whack. And when you start leveling that playing field in society, things come back into equilibrium. There's a term, you've probably heard it, going postal.
Yes, of course.
And it references, the 80s, where a bunch of postal workers were like picking off their fellow employees. They were going postal. They were like literally killing their bosses. And so there was a study that was done around that. Like, why is this happening to postal workers? And what they saw was postal workers were incredibly compensated. They couldn't lose their job. It's almost like it's a government kind of quasi-governmental position. Can't lose your job for anything. Highly compensated for great benefits package. Very little work. Massive disparity between compensation and work requirement. And this is what this study found, that because of the disparity between they could get their postal route down in like 3 or 4 hours, and then be told, they'd come back to the shop and be told by the boss, you got to leave. Like, you can't stick around here. Like, you're making it look like you don't have enough work. And so there was this massive disparity, and it was causing so much havoc in people's lives because there wasn't a proper compensation for proper work.
Wow.
And I looked at that and I said, we've lived in a society now where this disparity just has crept out of abnormal, and it's creating bad outcomes, just like it did in the postal office space. And now GiveSendGo is bringing equality back. Like, now an economically depressed person can gain access to the best legal defense fund possible, and it puts the pressure back on the justice system to come back into alignment and actually be blind like it should be. I mean, I think we have some examples over just the past couple of years where we looked at it and said, is justice really blind? It doesn't look like it's acting.
No, it's not. It hasn't been. Right.
It hasn't been, but I think
we need to get it back there.
Yes, and I think that's what a platform like ours is helping do.
Well, look at the case, look at these boys and their families, and tell me that you would be okay with your assumption about what happened to be the judgment, without representation of the facts. Like, I haven't commented on this this thing because I don't know the facts.
Right.
And it is a very tempting thing in the chase the clicks, chase the likes, chase the followers, chase the subscribers
Matt Walsh did this.
society of if I can make a judgment call on this case between this teen and this teen, and I can tribal it, I'm going to say it tribally so that my tribe comes and follows me, and then I get more clicks and likes.
Yeah.
Then the biggest thing is I've won because I've grown my audience. Man, I don't want to grow my audience by speaking tribalese.
I know.
I would far rather the facts be presented, a jury of their peers adjudicate, and the case is resolved through the courts as they should be.
Right.
Now, you said something about Matt Walsh. What did he do?
Oh, I know. I was kind of taken aback a little bit. Jumped into the middle of it, having read the police report, and was kind of convicting the kid, and then he actually threw us. I felt like he threw us under the bus.
There's a lot of people that are throwing you guys under the bus. I got the list here.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh my gosh! I was like, come on, Matt. I actually called him out and said, let's have a conversation, because do you think that we shouldn't have allowed this campaign? I want to be clear to anyone listening. I do not in the least bit think that I know everything. Like, part of being a Christian is a recognition that you're not God.
Yeah,
like
humility.
It's humility, exactly. It's just
creatureliness.
Right. I am 100% open to having conversation with people of any stripe to engage in, let's get to truth. Because it's through speech that we actually endeavor to truth. This was like the foundation. This, again, another biblical principle of like the wrestling towards truth. And it comes through speech. And I'm not afraid of that. And I don't think that I have all of the answers. Now, I do study to show myself approved, or like, we'll dig into this stuff. So it's like, is there a good foundation for what I'm resting on? But happy to have it challenged. So I said, I at least tweeted back to him, posted back to him, like, let's have a conversation, because you're making it sound like we shouldn't have allowed this campaign. But that doesn't resonate with what I believe, or what I even think you believe. I think you're playing into your tribalist play here.
Yeah.
And that's not helpful, Matt. Like, let's get back to speaking properly about these things and saying, yep, you know what? I can read the police report and it does not look good for this kid.
Right.
But he should have his day in court just like everyone else should. And he didn't land that way. And I was kind of disappointed.
I don't understand that mindset, because if you're going to be a cultural commentator, you have to realize that your words have impact, and you're going to shape some people downstream from you. I believe Matt Walsh is a reasonable person. I believe the guys at the Daily Wire tend to be reasonable guys.
Yeah.
But they don't have, sometimes we miss the fact that there's downstream culture from your tribe that are irrational.
Sure.
At the end of the day. They're all emotion, no rationality.
Yeah.
Your words light the fuse that sets off their bombs, and their bombs explode, and they come and they, dox you,
right?
And your family.
Exactly.
It's important to not instigate or inflame with your presentation.
Right.
I get it. We all want to have influence.
Yeah, right.
There's nothing wrong with influence, but when you're just chasing the influence by instigation, I think that's problematic.
Yeah.
And this is a perfect case for it, because no one really does know all the facts yet. Now, I heard today on Post that there is a video that the police have of the incident.
Really?
So that's going to open some eyes in either way, in either direction. Why don't we wait? I hate to say it, but I'm not very confident that this is going to be a very good thing for the country. The black kid gets convicted. Now the black community, what do they do?
Well,
or the black kid gets exonerated. Now what do the white people say and do? And I'm having OJ 1994 flashbacks here.
Right. Somebody said something, and I responded. I thought a little bit about it around that, which is, if this was your child, would you allow, if your child had been murdered, would you allow someone to just like,
question,
oh, really? Yeah. So this plays right into it. And I responded, I would absolutely want that perpetrator to have the best defense possible, because you undermine the outcome when you don't. Like literally, if he's not allowed the best defense, like we've given everyone else that we've had on our platform, what will happen is when the judgment comes out, because I think at least according to the things that I've read, it looks like it's not going to be a good case for this young boy. Mm-hmm. The outrage, like if we stood back.
I know what you're saying.
If we canceled this campaign.
Yeah.
And didn't allow this.
Now he doesn't have the resources.
And he doesn't have the resources.
It perpetuates the white supremacist narrative.
Right, exactly. It creates the thing that you don't want. It's like, no, afford even your enemy the best possible defense. And when true justice happens, which it puts the burden on our justice system to get it right, which is the best place to do it, it actually reinforces the judgment because they had the best defense.
There's no question.
There's no question.
Yeah.
He had all the money in the world. He got the best people. He had everything, and he was still found guilty. I'm like, that's what I want for people.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point that you just made. I hope people are bearing in on that because it is so important that when we talk about equal justice under law, this is a way of balancing that scale and saying, no, he was given the opportunity to defend himself in court. He still lost, and we didn't undermine him by removing him from our platform.
Exactly.
That's good on you, man. And I think God bless you. You're in the fire. I don't envy you.
Yeah.
But we want to answer some questions as well from people that have sent them in, and that's in our extra content. So you got to be a subscriber to be a part of that. Check it out at patreon.com/TimHatchLive as we spend some more time answering some questions sent in by people for Jacob Wells on this issue. But Jacob, I'm thankful for you being here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
More to come.
Yeah.
Subscribe. See you soon.